What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Back to Life podcast. I'm Nikotjr, your host, and we are going to talk about life today. We just want to talk about life in a nutshell. Nothing too in particular, no super dramatic subject. I just want to talk about the point we're at in life right now and how things are going. It almost seems like the world was in shambles, then the world fixed itself. Now the world is crashing again and no one knows what's happening. The economy's crashing, interest rates are up, and who knows what's going on, but here we are, we're living in it, and we are going to be history one day. Like, when you look back at what's happening in the world, we are what we're going to be talking about. So right now, I want to talk about some things that hit home with me and things I talk about with my close ones, my friends, my family, and just trying to understand ourselves as individuals, trying to understand how we feel, trying to understand how we operate on a daily basis, because we can get skewed a lot of times in life where we think a lot of things may not be going our way when in reality we have no idea what that actually means. We have no idea what it means to be struggling. We have no idea what it means to be going through a hard time when in reality there's people going through things that are life-threatening. People are going through things where they don't have food to eat while we live here in this amazing world. For instance, us in the United States of America, where we have everything at our fingertips and we still complain about what we have. How about that? We live in a world where we have everything at our fingertips and we still complain about what we don't have. When we literally can go around, get anything tomorrow, today, order it on Amazon, have it within hours, and still complain that it didn't come quick enough. How crazy is that? A lot of the things that I think in our life that kind of stem from a place of, I guess, being not content or ungrateful is this fast-moving social media world that we live in. And I love social media. I'm doing this on a video. This is a podcast. This is social media. But I think this instant gratification life that we live in makes us think that we are not good enough, that we are not capable of certain things, that we don't have what we actually have because we're comparing it to someone else's grass and we want our grass to be greener and we're looking at the other side. And at the end of the day, the grass is greener where you water it. You've got to understand that life is about what choices you make. Life is about the opportunities you act on. Every day I thank God for the opportunities mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, everything I can act on. I thank Him for that because at the end of the day, it's me that's going to put that foot forward. It's me that's going to wake up in the morning and actually try to go and attempt and make something happen. It's one of those things in life where you have to understand that it's not what's going on in your environment. It's what you got going on in your head. You have to understand that what you actually think about, what you actually do on a daily basis is predicated off of those thoughts that you're thinking on a daily basis, and you have to make things happen. No one can do it for you. This is important. This is one of those things in life where at a certain point, at a certain age, when is enough enough? Are you always going to be waiting for someone to do something for you? Are you always going to want to confide in someone to help you get that next step going, to give you that motivation, when at the end of the day, all you got to do is take that first step? It takes a lot, man. I understand that. It takes, kind of getting that callus on your mind, getting that callus deep down in your spirit, understanding that it's not always going to feel good. And I want to ask a question. Because in our world, we live in this space of I want to have fun. I want to have fun. I want to hang out. I want to chill. That's what we do, right? Let's vibe. But what is fun? What are you doing to convince others that you're happy? What are you doing on a daily basis that's showing people that, oh, I'm such a happy person. I'm having so much fun chilling and vibing and we're doing all these things. Like, what is actually happening in your life? Are you happy? Are you content? Are you actually going through moments fully engaged with what's going on? Are you actually where your 2 feet are? Are you mentally, stable? Are you feeling good about the decisions that you're making on a daily basis? Or are you trying to make people around you happy that don't even care about your well-being? You've got to ask yourself these questions. It's like, what should you be doing? Are you going around, chasing the next thing, chasing that materialistic, product or whatever it may be, or that party or that lifestyle that you may see on social media? But at the end of the day, what is it that you're getting? What kind of fulfillment are you getting from these moments? What kind of fulfillment are you getting from these materialistic things when you go buy them? Are you just going to buy the next thing? Are you just going to find the next thing that makes you happy? Or eventually, do you run out of time? Do you run out of money? Do you run out of resources? Do you run out of energy? And now you can't even convince yourself that, you know what, I actually do like these things that I'm buying. Now it's all about entertaining others and making others feel like you're living this dream when in reality you are so sad inside that you can barely get by with each day. You've got to make that decision to live life fully. I always say, man, like intentionality is so important in life. Like, what are we doing that is intentional on a daily basis where we think it and we do it and we believe it? Being intentional is so important that it literally will propel you into your purpose. Be intentional with your thoughts. Be intentional with your actions. Be intentional with your words. Everything matters. It's not just think this, think that, do this, do that, and it's going to be okay. Everything matters. Everything has a reason. Everything has a way in life that kind of comes back around and shows you like, this is for real. Be intentional. And something else I want to touch on, a subject that like is really important in our life as we get older and as we mature and as our emotions mature as well, is acting out of emotion versus character. You know, when people say, oh, what kind of characteristics does he or she have? And you're like, oh man, they're so kind, they're caring, they're loving, but they're super angry, right? Well, I think that a lot of times we misconstrue the idea of, you know, oh, they're acting out of character and they're just a terrible person. Well, there might be something in life that's kind of festering inside of you that makes you just act out of emotion versus character. You might be the best brother, you know, the most caring brother. You care about your family. You do all this stuff, or dad or mom, whatever you do, but then you act out of emotion when you don't get your way. You know, you might love to serve people and have the biggest, generous, most awesome heart, but then you get angry and you act out of emotion. We have to learn how to actually, you know, conceptualize and how to actually compartmentalize those thoughts on a daily basis, because if we let our emotions get the best of us, we are no longer acting out of character. And if we're always acting out of emotion, people are just going to get this emotional version of us that never acts out of character. And your character very well might be an awesome human being. Like you might be one of the coolest people in the world, but you're constantly acting out of emotion because you're letting things dictate how you feel versus how you actually know you are. You have to practice this. This is a daily practicing. It's an event, man. It's not something you just wake up and say, I'm just this cool person. I'm going to be awesome. I'm going to be so happy in life and everything is great. You have to practice being happy. You have to practice liking to serve people. You have to practice, you know, being just, you know, full of joy. It doesn't just happen overnight. And the moment that you practice these things, this joyful moment, this joy, it just comes over you and it is extruding. And then you get questions like, man, how are you so happy all the time? And I'm like, it's not me, it's God. I practiced it though. It comes from a deeper place. It's not just this on the surface feeling that just, well, why are you so happy all the time? Oh, he drinks energy. No, he doesn't drink energy drinks. It's deeper than that. I'm like, it's not me, man. It's something I practice. It's something I live by. And I'm a Christian. So to me, it's more than just me. It's the joy that I get out of life, knowing that I can go serve others, tell them about Jesus Christ, tell them about the goodness and the love that Jesus has for us, that he died for our sins, and that we're able to go out there and be disciples of men and love on people and show God's love on a daily basis to where, guess what? You might lead somebody to Christ. But at the end of the day, you've got to be able to do these things acting out of character versus emotion, because if I start acting out of emotion, guess what? We have a bunch of mood swings. And you ain't acting out of character when you have a mood swing. Well, that's who he really is. It really ain't. Sometimes we just get really angry really fast. You ever been on the road and somebody cut you off? You ain't acting out of character. You just thought you were about to get hit. You thought you were about to be in an accident. Your nervous system shuts down. Everything goes crazy. You're acting out of emotion. People say, oh, I made a mistake. I didn't know what was happening. That's true. But you've got to practice your character daily if you want it to actually be good character. And one of the last things I want to touch on is, I don't even believe in this world, but people use it all the time. But taking on problems, okay? I call them challenges in my life because I feel like it can be overcome. And if it can be overcome, it's a challenge. It's not a problem. But let's say we're going to call it taking on problems. And a lot of times in life, people take on problems looking at each other. And at the end of the conversation, what they're actually taking on is each other. And now it's not you and me versus the problem. It's you versus me. So I encourage you right now, anytime you are in a relationship, whether it be with a significant other, with a family member, with a friend, whoever it's with, take on problems and say, yo, it's you and me versus the problem, not you versus me. Let's put it on the whiteboard. Let's get the problem out in front of us. Don't put the problem in between two people, because two people all of a sudden lose sight of the problem and they only see the problems in each other. And then guess what? You butt heads, and you can't even come to a conclusion because you're no longer even talking about the problem. You're talking about the problems that you have with each other. And that's an issue. That's a challenge that we have to overcome as a society. As a young, me being a young individual, that's something I have to work on if I want to get better at it. It doesn't just happen over time. That's something that it has to be intentional, where I go, I'm not going to identify problems all the time and then look at someone and identify more problems. I have to identify a problem with someone else and say, it's you and me versus the problem. We're not against each other. Take that on in life. Try to understand what that feels like when you can actually sit there and go, hey, we can work through this together. We can make this happen, but let's not look at each other's flaws. Let's look at what we're trying to solve that's in between us and not allowing us to become one or to get to the end of it, to come to that solution. How do we solve the equation? I look at life as an equation. Same thing when you're sitting there thinking about people. What are we going to do? It's 1 + 1 = 2, right? Well, it's you and me equals solution. So how are we going to get to that solution in life? Whatever we're going through, whatever we're discussing, whatever we're trying to deliberate, we have to understand that it's you and me versus the problem versus you versus me. But regardless, I just wanted to touch on a few things, get on this podcast and talk about how precious life is, man. Life is so amazing if you look at it that way. If you look at things with a sad face all the time, with a sad mind, with a sad approach, you're going to be sad. If you change that perspective, if you shift your joy, if you shift how you feel when you wake up, if you shift that energy when you wake up in the morning and you just hop up with a smile on your face, you thank God for waking up in the morning, watch how your life shifts. I go on these thankful walks every day. It changed my life. It's something where I go and I'm just so grateful. I'm so thankful. I have so much joy in my spirit for being alive, for having the wind, the birds, the bees, the trees, everything around me. Not just me. We got to be selfless, not selfish. This is not about us. We're in a world where there's more than 8 billion people. We have to be happy with what we have, because someone in this world has it much worse than you. No matter how bad you think you have it, find a way to be grateful. Find a way to change that perspective in your heart. Find a way to shift your mindset and just be thankful for absolutely everything. Don't let things get you down. Don't let one bad moment convince you that everything is going wrong. You would never do that when you take a test. If you missed one question, you'd say I passed, with a 95 at that. And that's pretty darn good. View your life in the same way. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm going to try to do more of these more consistently. And I love y'all. Smile more, worry less, and stay blessed. I'll see you on the next podcast. Peace out. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. It would mean a lot to me if you left a review and shared your thoughts about it. Your reviews help get this podcast shown to others, and our goal is to help as many people as we can. Let's help each other out. See you on the next one.